The gods of Asgard are about to lose everything. They hired a frost giant to build an impenetrable defensive wall around their realm. The price? The sun, the moon, and the goddess Freya. The gods agreed to the contract, assuming the timeline was impossible. They wanted a free fortress and thought they could cheat the system. But the giant possesses a magical stallion, and with its immense strength, he is days away from finishing the job. The gods are trapped. If they keep their word, they lose the light of their universe and one of their greatest deities. If they break their sacred oath, they destroy the moral foundation of their entire kingdom. They need a cover-up. They need someone willing to step outside the law to do the dirty work. Enter Loki. Loki sabotages the project. He shapeshifts into a beautiful white mare, seduces the giant's workhorse, and leads it into the deep woods. The giant misses the deadline, flies into a rage, and is executed by Thor. Asgard gets its wall, and the gods keep their pristine honor. But only because Loki sacrificed his own dignity to save them. Most people think Loki is the ultimate villain of Norse myth. But look at the evidence, and a dark pattern emerges. A pattern you also find in the burning deserts of ancient Egypt, thousands of kilometers away, and the golden epics of India. Loki, Set, and Ravana weren't created to be evil. They were created to be containers. Scapegoats designed to carry the blame for the exact crimes the gods were committing themselves. Every civilization has a dirty secret. Peace requires violence, and order requires chaos. Take Asgard again. Loki wasn't just a political fixer, he was their chief weapons supplier. In another myth, after a prank gone wrong, Loki travels to the subterranean forges of the dwarves to make amends. Through sheer cunning and manipulation, he cons the dwarves into forging the greatest artifacts in the cosmos. He returns to Asgard and hands Odin Gungnir, the spear that never misses. He hands Freyr a golden boar that can run through the sky. And he hands Thor Mjolnir, the legendary hammer that becomes the ultimate symbol of divine order and protection. The grand irony of Norse mythology is that the gods of order enforce their laws using weapons literally procured by the god of lies. They depend entirely on his chaos. But if you think Loki's utility was shocking, wait until you see the violent enforcer the Egyptian gods kept on their payroll. In ancient Egypt, cosmic order was called Ma'at. But order is fragile when you live in a civilization surrounded by harsh, hostile geography. Every night, the sun god Ra sailed his golden barque through the treacherous underworld. And every night, the boat was attacked by Apep, a colossal cosmic serpent composed of pure, unadulterated oblivion. The noble gods, like Osiris and Horus, could not stop it. The only entity violent and unhinged enough to kill the monster in the dark was Set, the god of devastating storms, the god of the chaotic, red desert. Set was the chief enforcer, and the gods knew it. In the ancient text known as the Contendings of Horus and Set, the two gods engage in a brutal 80-year legal dispute over who should inherit the throne of Egypt. We expect the gods to immediately side with Horus, the righteous son. But they don't. For decades, Ra, the king of the gods, actively protects and favors Set. Why? Because Ra knows that without Set standing at the front of the solar boat, driving his spear into the jaws of the chaos serpent, the sun will not rise. The universe will end. The gods hated Set's brutality, but they kept him on the payroll because order requires a monster to defend it. Loki was the indispensable fixer. Set was the essential enforcer. But our next villain wasn't just a thug or a liar. He was an economic genius who built an empire so terrifying the gods had to mutate him to tear it down. In India, the epic of the Ramayana presents a completely different kind of threat. Ravana is remembered today as the ultimate demon king. But read the primary Sanskrit texts. He was not born a demon. He was born a high-ranking Brahmin, the great-grandson of the creator god Brahma himself. He is a terrifying polymath. an undisputed master of the 4 Vedas and the 6 Shastras, an invincible warrior who conquered the 3 worlds. But above all, he was an economic mastermind. When Ravana seized control of the island kingdom of Lanka from his half-brother Kubera, he didn't just rule it, he transformed it into an economic superpower. Under Ravana's administration, Lanka became the city of gold. The texts describe a society so prosperous that the poorest citizens ate from golden vessels. Hunger and poverty were eradicated. He commanded the Pushpaka Vimana, a flying chariot that symbolized his absolute mastery over architecture and advanced technology. He was also a fanatic devotee. When Lord Shiva crushed Ravana's arms under the weight of Mount Kailash to punish his sheer arrogance, Ravana didn't beg for mercy. He tore open his own arm, blood flowing, pulled out his tendons, strung them like a musical instrument, and composed the Shiva Tandava Stotram, a hymn of such intense, agonizing beauty that Shiva granted him an invincible sword. Ravana was a terrifyingly competent, fully realized king. So how do a divine fixer, a cosmic enforcer, and an economic genius become the ultimate symbols of pure evil? It happens when they stop being useful and start becoming a threat. In Norse myth, the turning point isn't just chaos, it's exposure. It peaks in a poem called the Lokasena. Loki walks into a divine feast and stops playing the fool. He methodically exposes every god in the room. He calls out Odin's cowardice and Freya's infidelity. He acts as a whistleblower, airing out the deep hypocrisy of the ruling class. The gods are humiliated, but they cannot act without a justifiable cause. That cause comes when Loki discovers a fatal weakness and orchestrates the assassination of their golden child, Balder. With the whistleblower now a murderer, the gods finally have the undeniable excuse they have been waiting for. They bind Loki to a rock with the intestines of his own son. A snake is positioned above his head, dripping venom into his eyes. They punish him for the murder, yes, but they celebrate silencing the one person who knew exactly how corrupt their kingdom truly was. Set's betrayal wasn't a mythological murder. It was harsh geopolitical reality. When a foreign empire known as the Hyksos invaded Egypt and established their capital in the north, they adopted Set as their chief god. His aggressive, warlike nature perfectly matched their own chaotic storm deities. Overnight, Set went from the necessary defender of the sun to the hated symbol of the occupying enemy. Once the native Egyptians finally pushed the Hyksos out and reclaimed their land, Set's status became a severe political liability. While some early dynasties kept him around, by the late period and the Ptolemaic era, the state apparatus turned against him entirely. They systematically erased Set from their monuments, chiseling his face off temple walls. He was demoted from an essential component of the cosmos to an eternal scapegoat for foreign invasion and domestic suffering. But Ravana's threat was purely psychological. If the Ramayana allowed Ravana to remain a fully human king, the central lesson hits far too close to home. He represents a terrifying reality. A human ruler can possess immense intelligence, vast wealth, and intense religious devotion, and still completely lack inner moral restraint. Kings, scholars, and politicians would look at Ravana and see their own reflection staring back at them. Society cannot handle that kind of mirror. To protect the sanctity of human leadership and religious devotion, the architects of the myth had to mutate him. Once a system turns on you, it must rewrite your history. The nuance and complexity of these figures are violently stripped away, leaving only a one-dimensional caricature of evil. This is the scapegoat protocol. Loki's narrative is entirely rewritten. The gods erase the countless times his cunning saved their kingdom and supplied their armories, focusing exclusively on his final betrayals. He becomes the pure architect of Ragnarok, stripping away the uncomfortable truth that Asgard was doomed by its own broken oaths long before Loki broke his chains. Set's history is aggressively sanitized. His role as the brutal but necessary protector of Ra is buried under millennia of state-sponsored propaganda. He is reduced strictly to a jealous brother and a murderer, transforming him into the eternal enemy of order, rather than the violent force that made order possible in the first place. Ravana's image is explicitly weaponized. The 10 heads, the Dashanana, that originally symbolized his unparalleled mastery of the sciences, arts, and scriptures, are reframed purely as demonic physical mutations. His profound scholarship and economic triumphs are overshadowed by his abduction of Sita. He is mathematically distanced from humanity, so that humanity does not have to claim ownership of his fatal flaws. The psychologist Carl Jung theorized that humans possess a shadow, the dark, unacknowledged parts of our own nature. When we cannot face our own shadow, we project it onto someone else. Mythology is simply shadow projection on a civilizational scale. Mythology is not a collection of simple fairy tales. It is a precise mirror of human power structures. Every kingdom needs a villain, because without the villain, the kingdom has to turn the camera on itself. It has to confess that justice often requires cruelty, that gods can be highly corrupt, and that the monsters we fear are usually just carrying the baggage we refuse to hold. The villain is never the true opposite of the system. He is the system's most honest face. The gods didn't just weaponize chaos, they weaponized victims. To see how this exact pattern was used to turn a cursed woman into the most famous monster in ancient Greece, click the video on screen. Welcome to Mythic Afterlight.